Most people play games. I've spent years breaking them. Let's look beyond the patch notes and figure out what Embark is really testing right now. Because if you follow this channel for any amount of time, you know I'm less interested in what changed and more interested in why it changed. That's where game design decisions, player behavior, and developer priorities start to reveal themselves. And this update has some really interesting clues. There are 3 decisions that tell us exactly what the studio is focused on: player behavior, player trust, and, of course, October. These are the kind of changes that grab my attention, not because of what changed, but because of what those changes tell us about the questions Embark is trying to answer. Let's start with the free loadouts. Embark has disabled free loadouts for Night Raid and Close Scrutiny for the next 3 weeks. At first, this sounds like a simple balance change, but I don't think that's what's happening here. One thing I've learned from years of testing is that developers rarely make changes without a question they're trying to answer. And the question here seems pretty obvious. Do free loadouts undermine risk versus reward in high-value environments? Night Raids and Close Scrutiny offer better loot opportunities than standard conditions. Well, not in the outer parts, but you all know what I mean. If players can repeatedly enter those map conditions with zero investment, eventually the risk starts disappearing. And that's dangerous for an extraction shooter because extraction shooters, say it with me now, depend on tension. That's right, they depend on the players having something to lose. So this feels less like a balance change and more like a test, in my opinion. Embark's basically asking, what happens when players actually have skin in the game? Do they slow down? Do they play more carefully? Do they extract more often? Do we see fewer reckless runs? Those are valuable questions. I think this is one of the most interesting tests, but honestly, they should have done it like way earlier in my opinion. Then there's the anti-cheat update. Most players are gonna see, we ban more cheaters, yay! But what caught my eye was the notification system. Now players can receive confirmation when action is taken against someone they reported. And let's be real, reporting a player felt as useful as the match satisfaction surveys. Am I right? Do those actually work anyway? And if a confirmed cheater knocks you out, Embark can automatically return your lost loot. This isn't just an anti-cheat feature, it's a trust feature. I've talked about trust before being one of the most important currencies in extraction shooters. When players start believing every suspicious death is a cheater, trust breaks down. And once trust breaks down, every loss feels unfair. That's why these notifications matter. Not because they catch more cheaters, but because they show players that something is happening. The loot return system does the same thing. It's not just restoring gear, it's restoring confidence. And for a game like Arc Raiders, I think this is pretty important. Oh, and speaking of things that are important, if you're the kind of player who likes understanding why things changed instead of just what changed, hit subscribe, ring that bell, because that's basically what we do around here. Now, let's talk about the real story in this update: October. Embark tells us that most of the team is focused on the October update, which makes total sense. The new map, new progression system, new quests, new content. I appreciate the transparency, because what they're really saying is, yeah, things are quiet right now. We know. That's intentional. Instead of trying to convince players that a small event is a major content drop, they're acknowledging the reality. The event keeps players engaged, the live team keeps the game healthy, but the main development effort is going toward October. As someone who's worked in game testing for years, this tells me a lot about where resources are being focused, and that tells us what a studio believes is most important. Right now, Embark is betting on October. Everything else feels like support structure around that goal. So while most people are going to focus on the Forgotten Relics event, that's not what stood out to me. What did stand out was a risk versus reward experiment, a trust rebuilding anti-cheat initiative, a very clear statement about where the studio's intention is focused. Taken together, these changes paint a very clear picture. This update isn't really about adding content, it's about preparing the game for what's coming next. And now the big question becomes, is October worth the wait? Remember, I can't tell you where I've been, but I can tell you what I've learned. Have a good one, gamers, and I'll see you in the next one.